Yeah, so here this is another part. So let me continue. So in I have already talked about in that dream I how the how I was walking in the strength of my degree, not with physical strength, because I cannot walk in physical strength in this situation where I don't have privacy. I can only walk in in the strength in mental strength. It requires walking in mental strength because I all the time I have this I feel this weight. Now it's not about actual physical weight, but just that if you are living with a lot of order, bad order, we are living in an environment of a lot of bad order, your head will begin to feel heavy. And many times might feel too it may feel too heavy that you feel you need to perhaps you are about to if not pass out, you would feel that you may feel that you need to rest. So though I clean myself in half I clean myself partly. Like I clean the lower half, I wash the head, I wash face, I wash hands underneath. But still the order is um, order keeps me low. It keeps me low, and and how I discovered that it was the order making my head feel so heavy and dizzy was when I was in a different room in this same building, and it was the time that I was working to publish the books. So during that time, I was I was not even able to brush my teeth, or I was not bathing regularly, or I have not bathed for a long time, perhaps months. I did not wash the upper half. I would kept wearing the same inner garment. I kept wearing the same whatever you wear inside the upper garment. I kept wearing the same thing. And then I felt one day I felt and then it began to itch, or there was a burning sensation there around the edges of that inner garment. And then I went to the washroom. I lifted. So I put my hand inside the t-shirt, and I saw what that burning. So there was a burning sensation. I saw, yeah, I have got a wound because of the excess sweat, and I had to work physical. I had to work for the physical work. I had to clean at times as well as perhaps the health set. The auntie that was helping us, uh, she was on, uh, she was having her off. She had gone to a village, her village. So I was the one who was who was washing dishes, cleaning the floor, and so I was doing physical work, and I was also cooking. And doing all that, so that was there was to be sweat. But then I was not able to bathe because of the lack of privacy breach. Because that would give me that was very mentally that would be traumatizing. Why would I bathe when I know that there is a situation of privacy breach? So eventually, I began to feel this burning sensation around the edge of the inner garment. And when I put my hand inside and saw, I when I felt that, I saw that after some days, I found out that it had actually formed a scab. There was a scab around the edge of my inner garment where it was stabbing around my chest. There was a scab. So I peeled it off of it, and and then it kept coming off slowly. So every day I would itch where I had the wounds on both the sides. I had two wounds, and it would itch, and I would peel off the scab. So yeah, that's what happened. But that's what happened because of no bathing and excess sweating and uh, working, having to work, and so there was a and not entire lack of bathing and being fresh, or lack of cleaning myself. So one day I went to the washroom and I lifted my shirt a bit. I was perhaps wearing a checkered shirt. I don't recall exactly, and I saw that it was actually there was actually a mark there, but I had actual marks around the edge of my inner garment because I did not change it for many months and I was working and not cleaning myself up. So I had gotten actual large, there were, uh, there were, there were large marks around around the lining of my inner garment because I did not change it. So you see, yeah, and most likely now there must be a mark around the now there were two localized marks on both the sides, but most likely now there are marks around the lining of the environment as well as I have not washed myself for a while. So you see, so in that situation, I was editing the content and I published few more books. The three books I published them, or the last two books, fourth and fifth, the ones that are named Battle Continued. So those Battle Continued I published in the other room of this building, and they also have parts from the dream uh, that have come to pass, parts from the same dream that have come to pass, and the dream that is still continuing in its progression. Parts of it have come to pass and they're published there. That these are the parts of the dream that have come to pass, and some of them are left. So you see, after I published those five books, then it was in 2024. I published. I think by the end of 2024, I was done publishing the first five books, and in I had to finished publishing nine books. So there were four more to go. Now I know that there is stuff from the drones as well. So now I have to write it in the prefix or that the drones, the implant was also showing me things. That the implant was also showing me things and that is contained in the first books along with the revelations given by God. So so I'm going to put that and remove uh, the other things the other obscene things, the drones, the implant showed me that I wrote down because I had written them a long time back. Then I let them be there, or else I would be removing things. What I actually did during that time, that is what the books have, is what I actually spent time, a lot of time writing those things. So the book actually contains what I was doing. Now, this may be opposite orthogonal to what the man did. The man who created this drone situation, he is publishing papers uh, for the world to see. He has scientific work published. He has scientific published work. But what is he doing? He, while publishing those scientific papers, he is fornicating with women or the women he works with. He, they are in their group or in their, they live in an environment where they work with, if they publish with someone, if they do research with someone, they fornicate with that person. That's how they do their scientific research. So that's not what he is letting know. That's not what he is letting known in the papers. When you read the paper, you only see the scientific one. You don't see the fornication with it or all the crimes they were committing. Many times, it's an innocent woman they're trying to trap, and sometimes they threaten her about her career, or me they threatened about my parents. These wicked evil people that they will kill my dad or kill my brother or things like that, etc. etc. I am now here. I did not complete my degree, but I had my paper that was enough for the completion of my degree. In my first year, In, the, in my first year of PhD itself, I had the work of the paper. I had my model that was enough for my degree to be completed, for my PhD degree to be completed. In the second year, I had the paper. In the first year, I had the work. Not the first year, in June itself, in June 2018, in a week, I completed the model. On June 15th, 2018, I saw a vision, and within a week or so, I completed the model that was written as a paper in 2019 under a different supervisor. And I had joined Recreation in 2018, in April 2018. In April 2018, I joined. In June 2018, the same year, I built the model. The idea was not given to me by my supervisor. Um, Everything there was it, so if everything there was done by me, or I saw a vision, but I had this strong strong sense that I had to complete building. I had to begin working on that and complete it as soon as possible. Or there was an urgency. There was an urgency. So I was not in my workplace. I was at a different place where my brother was hospitalized. So I had gone there with my mom, and I had received the mission in a train journey with my mom. And we reached there in the hospital room where my brother was hospitalized. Uh, there I there I began working with what I saw and everything I knew. I so I I knew there was an urgency in my heart, on my heart to work on it. I sat there and I worked on it, and I then it came out as a model. It came out as a model, a new model for the same process now, which was more realistic. It That is how things were happening in the real sense. Things are continuous in the real sense. So, and my model was it. it its name is the name of my research paper is a first order piecewise linear differential equation. So I'm reading this from the page that I have pasted from the wall. A first order piecewise linear differential equation explains alternate bearing in perennial dance. This was the name of my research paper, the first manuscript that I wrote in 2019. And yeah, and though it's still under review. They had no real reason. They did not, in all their reviews, they did not find anything that was incorrect, or it is a complete work. It's a complete model. Even then, they just kept rejecting it by giving one or the other reason, which did not really seem strong to me, or did not really seem. Um, it did not seem a valid reason, whatever they said. Sometimes they're saying the paper is out of the scope of their journal, and then the name itself is matching with their journal. They just did not want it to be published because they knew what people from their own community had going to do. It was the people from scientific community that sent these spy drones around me. So you see, yeah. So coming back to the topic that led to this long uh, this long sharing of events or things, this long sharing of things. So what I wrote in my books is what the implant showed as the implant showed. Those things are present in my books as well, in those books as well, which have the great revelations or revelations by the Holy Spirit. So there you see the sexual things, the things that I did not do, things that I did not want to do. I would not have the will or desire to do. But because I saw them, I wrote it down. And the only way I could interpret them is also what I have shared in one of the books, and perhaps I have repeated it in different at different places in different parts of my note, in different parts of the notebook that I have published as different books. So, what my interpretation of those sexual visions that implant was showing me was that they were all different labels for the same person. They were all different labels for the same person. The person from the dream, the person from the wedding dream that God had promised. They were all different labels for the same person God had promised. So that is the only moral conclusion I could make. Uh, because what else would it mean? I mean, God is a God of holiness. So the only sense you can make out of these different things you're seeing with different people is that they are all labels for different labels for the same person. That's what I have written. That's what I have written in some place. Some place I have written that my thoughts about those different visions I was different types of visions I was. They were not really visions. Things obscene things shown by the clothes. So I've written my thoughts there. That either it, you have to look at the moral meaning of what is happening, the obscene thing they're showing. What is the moral counterpart? Yeah, what is the moral counterpart of that? Um, so, gut worship is the moral counterpart of an objective act of divorce. The worship from a place of striving, it's orthogonal to an objective act of physical pleasure. So, and perhaps that's what it meant. Perhaps, um, yeah. So, or it could be those different people could be different labels for the same person. And whatever the sexual things I was saying, I wrote that. So I have this column somewhere written that fleshly things are not really fleshly. So under that, I wrote my understanding of what they could mean. Yeah. So you see, now coming back to the dream from 2021. So in that dream, I was wearing a garland of purple flowers, and I also shared how I have gotten scars along the lining of my garment because of a lack of cleaning or a lack of air. Air doesn't get in, or there is no freshness. There was a lot of sweating and when I was working, doing physical work, and then I couldn't bathe, so it led to those marks. And yeah, so you see, in this situation of Princess Beach, I cannot really survive if I rely on physical work to sustain myself. I cannot survive. If I do that, bathing becomes a necessity because if you are doing strong, if you are doing a lot of physical labor, you have to bathe. After 2 or 3 days, you will have to bathe, or you are going to swim so hard that you're going to feel dizzy all the time. And with that dizzy head, you will not be able to work more of physical work. You will pass out. Yeah. So bathing is necessary, but then if you bathe, it leads to a mental wound because the privacy is breached, or you would be doing wrong as you know that people are watching you. So you have to cover yourself in a way that where bathing becomes an act of not an act of comfort, but an act of necessity, or say saving a life or saving your own life. Because if you don't bathe, you're going to be perhaps you will pass out of the order. Yeah. So in my situation, they send these drones so that I feel shame because people are watching me and then I kill myself. That was the objective behind sending these spy cameras inside my clothes and showing my insides, or sending the drones inside my uh, private parts and even inside yeah, so everywhere. Mainly, they want to hurt you by sending drones in your private parts that you don't want to expose, but they are trying to put you to shame so that you kill yourself. I overcame that because I relied on my mental training. I walked in the strength of my training. That's the kind of work I did, which and therefore I was able to do it for 4, 5. 3 to 5 hours or even more. So I was able to do that work for 3 to 5 or even more number of hours. And with that work, I earned holy money, and using that money, I sustained myself. I did not rely on physical labor or something else which would lead to me passing out um, because of physical or mental fatigue, most of which is caused by the order. And now, even if you pay regularly, say you are working physical labor and then you are paid now, if there are drones, the privacy is breached, you will face a mental stress. You will face a mental stress and it's traumatizing. Why do people watch you? Why are they don't have to watch you? It's supposed to be a private act. Yeah, so you will not be able to, after some time, you will have to stop maybe. Now, from your past mind, when you still had your privacy, that mind had privacy while bathing or while using washroom normal thing, as a normal thing. But as the situation continued with my mind learned that that can no longer be a normal thing. I have to stop bathing altogether. So that is what came slowly to my mind. But the past life is different, and this new life that I am living in the presence of drones. There is a different way I am going to have to live. Now I cannot be relying on my physical strength or what I can do with the strength of my physical body, but I have to rely on what I can do using my mental strength. So if I don't wait, if I do work while sitting, if I do sitting work, I am able to do much more than I would be able to do if I was doing if I was doing physical work, which leads to me sweating and then stinking more, and then I had this filled this. It feels now there is anyway a weight I experience on my head because of the order, but um, that will be even more. So I anyway I'm living with that weight. That it's yeah, it makes you. It seems to make you slow, but not so slow. Yeah. But so I have tried to decrease its impact by not by uh, by doing mental work to sustain myself. Yeah, and I take care of my own responsibilities in this situation. And yes, and so you see, I so in that dream, God showed me that I was wearing a garland of purple flowers. So um, and I understood what it meant recently. But today itself, I understood. Today morning, I understood one more thing about that garland of purple flowers. So you see, in the year of 2024, I was done. No, in the year of 2025. Last year, I completed publishing 5 books in perhaps the month of July. In month of June or July was the month, either June or July. Let me check. I published my fifth book, Battle Continued. And after that, I ran out of my money. That was the last fund that I had from my PhD that I invested in my fifth book to publish it. So after that, I ran out of money, and then I was taking care of um, some household chores. And yeah, so that is where my attention shifted. But at the same time, I was also trying to write what God was giving me, and then I did not know then that the implants were also able to show me things. I was not so sure. You see, I think by the time of the fifth book, I knew for sure that the implants were able to show me things. Okay, so while I am looking for this, I'm to the website. Right? Perhaps I will share it, um, or I can skip that detail. So either in June or in July, I I completed publishing my fifth book, and I spent the last money, or it was near about the last money I had my from my the money that was left from my degree, the degree of my PhD. So the degree did not get completed. Um, yeah, so I opened my email and I just saw that there was a successful transfer of author earnings of 1800 rupees on 17th of June of this year. So on this year, I I got these author earnings. They were slightly more than this, but I withdrew 1800. You could only withdraw once it was more than 1500. So some of it was from the books that I myself got. So I initially got the first book when I published it, I bought three or four, perhaps four, five of its copies, and yeah, and then uh, yeah, and then now coming to how I found out about the the buy that uh, the buy that God highlighted to me. Um, One day I was looking at the website of where I published my books, and I was looking at the books I had sold in different months. I did not sell many books. I put their prices. I had fixed their prices to the minimum possible. I put their prices to the minimum possible. Even with that, because they were published on magazine pages, because I had to publish colorful. I had to publish the way they were on my notebook, and they were colorful pages. So I had to choose the uh, package, or the package that had magazine pages, because only on magazine pages they were offering to publish colored pages. They did not offer to publish colored pages on any other type of page. So, and when you were using that option, you would have the price increased to a good extent, as the cost was more. So I was looking at in which month I sold which book, or there was a person who had bought my first book last year. It was an international buy, so I was looking in which month it was, and what was the profit I made there, because I did not know what was the profit they were giving. I knew that I had set it to the minimum. That's what I knew. But with that minimum, with and for that international sell, what was the profit that I made? So when I looked at that in the profit, I found out that there was a sell on 22nd of January. On 22nd of January year, this year, 22nd January 2026, uh, someone had bought my book from Cologne International Private Limited. I thought this is not where my books are published. They're on Amazon, Flipkart, or the website of this publishing house. Later on, I got to know that it was some program that a part of the program they follow. They send your book to other channels as well, so it's now available on um, different um, different websites that are not part of the publishing house, but which they have partnered with. So I saw that, and then I checked the same for the other book. For for the So I saw that all of my books had, at least some of the books which had zero copies sold, all of them now had one. That one that I saw that, okay, all of my books have at least one. That uh, the last four books are bought. Someone has bought one, or it could be different people, or perhaps the same person that I did not know. But when I looked it up, that when was the one copy sold of each of the books, I found out that on the same date, on January 22nd, someone bought all my books. That on January 22nd, on the same date, all my books were bought, one copy each by someone. So that is, and that money was there in my that dashboard, my author dashboard, but it had not been yet transferred to my wallet, so I did not know that. So I didn't know that I someone had actually bought. I got to know by the number one, but most likely, yeah. So yeah, so someone had bought all my books from the website Cologne International Private Limited. Now I did not know. Um, wait, that wasn't about to say. I was about to say. Yes, someone bought all my books from Cologne International. Yeah, and then I went to the website Cologne International Private Limited, and I did not find my book there. I searched for the title of my book. I searched by author name. So different ways I searched, but I did not find my book or any book by me there. Perhaps the website took my books down after that buy. I don't know, because all my books got sold in one go. I am not sure, but um, yeah, but one book, I uh, one book from each of the parts was did get sold on, someone did buy on that on that platform. Now, so okay, I thought, okay, someone bought all my books. Perhaps it looks like it's the same person who bought all my books on 22nd of January this year, 2026. So and then I was once I was resting on bed, what put in my understanding as he does, that it was actually a very meaningful buy. That it was a very meaningful buy. And he put it strongly on my sorry, it's my hair that's going into my mouth. That's a hair strand. So he put it very strongly in my heart, on my heart, that it was a very meaningful buy. That someone, and the person, whoever it was who had bought my books, all my books together, he had bought it with a lot of meaning, or he, for him it had a lot of meaning. Yeah. So also that was the time that I was looking for a job. Like the last month on December 31st, 2025, that night I was thrown out of home and I spent the night outside in dirt. And in Jan, then I was looking for um, I then so in Jan I began looking for a job, and I knew I had to earn my own money to sustain myself, because I had to buy my own food. Because if I because that was the only way to survive for me. I had to do a work which I was able to do. I had to do the work which I was capable of doing, or which I would be able to do without getting very tired, wherein there was a lot of sweating and the smell odor makes me makes me dizzy, or if there, or which leads to an even weightier burden weight on my head because of the odor. So I knew I had to work a job which I was able to do for long hours, relatively easier, and not and but I could not rely on. I could not be doing physical labor, not for others at least. Now they have. I was responsible to do my own work. That is what I took seriously from then on. That I had to earn my own food, earn my own money, to because that was the way that I was going to survive in this situation of currency bridge. Yeah. So so I was also thinking that, oh, if someone buys my books, I have set the price to the lowest. If one or two people buy my books, after the person bought all the five books, um, it made the total earnings mark go above the withdraw with the limit needed to withdraw. So when the that meaningful after that meaningful buy, the withdrawal limit was crossed, and then I shared about my books with my one of my relatives as well, that they could buy, and with another relative they could buy, so that because I was not finding a job. I did not have a job then. Back then, I was thinking that until I get a job, if someone buys my books, then that would help. Now, I knew that what my books, the books had things from the bronze, the implant as well. Uh, so this year I knew about it. This year I knew about it. So I told whoever I suggested my books to, I told them that while reading them, they had to use discernment. They had to use discernment that what was from, what could be from the Holy Spirit, and that what I was saying, and that what what the implant said through me, what I was saying, and what was my perception. There were these things. So there was the thing written that was from the implant. The implant showed the opposite thing. And then there was a thing written that was from God. The God showed this. And then there were my words which told about my interpretation of what was shown by the implant. So I told them that they had to use discernment to read my books, but they could go ahead and buy them um, because to help me pay my food bills until I found a job. But and I would not want people to buy. Now I know there are, I would rather spend time reading reading the pure word of God, where uh, which actually uh, takes me to that place of holiness, which actually takes me to that place of holiness, and not where I'm coming across sexual things, and which makes me think, how could this be from God? You know, and this is exactly what I ended up publishing. Now, is how ironic is that? Yeah, because the implant was also showing me things, and then there were things from God as well. But I wrote my understanding of the that this is what the things that the implant showed me could mean. That all those people that I had the revelations with, they were all different labels for the same person. That it was the same person whom God has promised me, and they were all different labels. Yeah, and you see, and then uh, yeah. So, so if we talk about that, the second person in that dream from 2021 who was looking like a celebrity. Now coming to that part, you see, yeah. So now it makes sense why he was shown looking as a celebrity, because you see, he actually, like, I had those scars. I got those scars around the lining of my inner part. I have a permanent scar around the lining of my inner part now, and uh, so I how did I get that? Because I I was walking on the straight path. I was walking on the straight path. That's how I got that scar. I was walking on the straight path. I was trying to also take care of household chores, or even if I say during that time there was a relatively greater burden or greater load on me. But uh, even without that, if you stay, if you keep wearing the same clothing for a long time, even without a physical burden, you will get a mark, or you will get a scrap, or you will get a wound or a mark or a rash, something that gives you that turns into a wound, and which then the scab falls off, it leaves a mark. You will get that. Slowly it will lead to that. Yeah. So you see, yeah, so I got that. So you see, when I was doing that work, when I was publishing the books, I at times I was not bathing. I was not brushing. When I would wake up, at times I was not brushing. I would get up and begin to edit, and then I was spending a lot of time making playlists as well of everything that I had, uh, of all the songs that had played that had played in my mind. Now many of them are played by the implant. Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time doing that. You see, when I was doing that in my mind, and I was not bathing, and I got that scar as well around my garment, because I did not change it for many months. For many months, I did not change it, and then that's how I got the scar, uh, and those bigger scars as well. those bigger scars. Now I have not seen how the scar lining looks because but I know I can feel the burning sensation around the scar line. So there is a scar line here. Uh, so when I was working to edit and publish those books, I actually gave my inner parts to God. Though I did not know that uh, some of those things were shown by the implant. But I gave my inner parts to God because I knew that even though I have seen them and I'm writing them, I know the meaning has to be holy because God is holy. That is what I knew that because God is holy. Even I have seen these things, they must mean they have to be interpreted in a holy way, or they cannot have a wicked meaning. I am not going to be doing these things for different people, be it a celebrity or someone else. It all has to point to one person, and that person has to be the promised person. So that was my reasoning when I that was the reasoning I have shared in somewhere in the books. Yeah. So um, yeah. So I gave God my inner parts. You see, and inner parts. So God in the dream, God actually showed a general representation of what your inner part what inner part could be represented by. So he sewed or he joined together different things. In my case, he joined together flowers in a garland, and that is what represented the inner part of that guy who bought all my books. So this got to put on my heart that it was a very meaningful buy. He made a very meaningful buy, which was to he saw that I was struggling, or I even spent a night outside of my home, and I was looking. I did not have money. I needed a job to buy my food. I was running on credit. I was buying food on credit from a local shop back then, and I paid for that credit after I got a job. So a lot of credit had built up until then. So yeah. So I gave so so when the guy made that buy, when the guy bought those things, bought those books. So these drones they set the word things through. You see, so they try to come in between when I'm talking, and they try to add their own words or add their own tone. They try to pervert, or they are evil people. They want to pervert every good thing that God believes in, that every good thing that God is. They want to pervert every good thing that God is. So yeah, when so those so that money that was there in my author dashboard, that was meaningful money. That was part of so that money carried someone's inner parts. You see, that money carried someone's inner parts. You know, yeah, that money carried someone's inner parts. That he made a meaningful buy. Because he made a meaningful buy, he gave he gave his inner part there. He invested with his inner part, or with the inner part of his soul. And when I received, and then when once God put it on my heart that it was a very meaningful pie. It was a place of very a lot of meaning. That the pie was made from a lot of meaning. I did not really want to ever use that money. I thought let it stay there for all times to come. But I don't want to use it. I will not draw it. Perhaps I will sell another book. I might not be selling a bundle again. I when no one was buying because everyone knew what was there. So I knew that I was not going to be earning by selling my books, but still it helped me through. It helped in some way. As I uh, when I received the money, I used it to buy these candles. So I used to worship God. I worship, and I bought some food. So I did not buy some food. I bought a similar ring, and the ring was of the uh, label salty. The ring had salty written on it. But when I wore it, it was too tight on my finger, and in one or two attempts of putting it inside my finger and then taking it out, in two attempts, uh, a nail. So this joint here, it broke. So the nail that was there, it came out. So I had to return that ring. And then there was no second ring after that. That was perhaps the last piece they had. Now it is back in stock again. I can buy things in my own. Now I have my own earning. But when I received that, uh, when I did not. So you see, in January this year, I was looking for a job. I knew I could not. I had to buy my own food, and so. And then later on, I saw that someone bought all my books in on 22nd of January this year. And God put on my heart that it was a very meaningful buy. And then I did not want to take that, to withdraw that money. I thought let it stay there. But uh, then I thought perhaps I will withdraw it. Now it's above the threshold limit. It got transferred to my wallet after some months. So whenever someone makes a buy, after some months it is transferred to the wallet. So I yeah. It got transferred, and I used that money to buy these candles, which were a part of the revelation. I bought them because I remembered the revelation, and God told me that it was a meaningful buy, so I used them at a meaningful place. I used the money that I got from the selling of my books to buy these candles, and I bought a spring salty of the label brand salty, but then I had to return it because it broke. It did not fit my finger. Perhaps my finger became thicker because I have gained weight. But after then I sent it back and the money was refunded. I used it to buy food for a few. So I ordered food a few times for the money that was refunded from the that was refunded in place of the maybe because I had returned the ring with the label salty. So you see, I had the inner parts of that guy who bought my books, and the guy's head was lifted up by the pages of the book that had my inner parts. I wrote those. I published those books in a very difficult mental situation. But, and you see, one day, so this day, after many months, I took a bath this day. Perhaps I had to go to a conference. It is the only conference that I presented my paper, that I presented my research paper in. And it was perhaps it was in this year, in March. No, it was in last year. Last year in March. In March, I went to Delhi to present my research paper in a conference. Perhaps then before going there, I must have taken a bath there in that when I was in that other room. So I was done when I stepped out of the washroom. After a while, I felt a sudden as if something my mind had cleared up, as if something was the weight that was present there was no longer there, and I felt so fresh as if my mind had opened up. So now I understand that that was because the order, the strong order that is always around me because I don't bathe, that was gone after I had taken a bath. And even now I'm feeling that way in my head. So you see, in that dream, I had the guy's inner parts. So why did he bought it from Cologne International Private Limited? Because I was thinking to that, it even gave me scars on the inside, on the inside of, on the inside around the lining of my inner garment. It gave me scars. I did not change it for many months, and I was thinking, but the guy bought my books with a meaningful. It was a meaningful buy, and he gave me his inner parts uh, as I Yeah, he gave me his parts, and then when I had that money in my account, I withdrew that. I used them meaningfully to buy. So there are four or six, perhaps five more of these inside that. In the purple, in the purple drawer of this drawer case, so he gave me zero parts. And when I wrote the books, in the books I have this prophetic symbol. In all the books I have published this prophetic symbol, which goes along with the wedding dream I had. In that wedding dream, yeah, if this prophetic symbol goes along with the wedding dream I have, and in writing those books, I was giving, I had given my inner parts. I had given my inner parts. I had put my inner parts in writing those books because it was in very difficult situations. In a very difficult situation, I wrote this book. Now, the implant showed me other things as well, and there is the mixture. There are those that hay as well. There, hay from the implant, but that's also a part of the truth. That how is that is not the truth. What is written there is not the truth, but it's a part of what I went through. These drones, they're always showing me these lies. They're trying to change my reality by showing me lies, by creating a delusion, or if the implant is always showing me evil things. But God doesn't have to show me anything to put make me and he to make me see something or make me understand. Sometimes he shows me, but many times he's putting an understanding. That is not what the drones, what any implant can do. An implant cannot put in your mind a specific understanding, but God can do that. So God can put a specific understanding in your mind that you that you that you hear, that you understand, and then you know, oh, that's the heart of God. Yeah. So that dream revelation shows that both of us gave each other inner parts, each other's inner parts, which is to say, so which are close to something pure. So giving someone your inner part is a part of a pure bond. It has got nothing to do with intercourse or a physical act, but it's a part of pure bond, giving your inner part something from your something from your soul. You gave them from a place of striving. From a place of striving, you gave them your inner parts. So yeah, and that guy was then in that dream was in a different dream. It was shown that he was he was about to be released from captivity, and he had his mouth concealed by something wooden strongly, and he had his hair had no hair. Perhaps his hair was shaved. Perhaps the woman Akila Aram got too jealous of him, or she tried to steal his identity. She tried to look as the chosen one in her lifetime with the evil man Mrityunjay Gudha Majumdar. Yeah. So she tried to steal his identity of the person. Uh, this person, she tried to steal his identity by wearing something else uh, around her neck, around her neck, making the point that she is the person that my books refer to. But it's not true. But it's not the truth. Yeah. And she will pretend in her life that she has given her inner parts to the evil man who has created the situation around me, or who is threatening to harm or kill my family members, or even or continue this abuse for a lifetime. Or so that woman Akila Aram will want to or will do will want to do a similar thing to the man God promised to me. And because of how his mouth was kept like this, perhaps he witnessed about the situation. That's why they took him captive and they kept his mouth like this to teach him. In their understanding, they're trying to teach him a lesson to stay silent. So he got a scar around his mouth. So he has both of us have our own scars. And in staying faithful to God's path in our own individual. lanes we have given each other's we have given each other our inner parts.